So the dream team for the latest round of the Rugby Championship. Obviously the All Blacks Argentina game was a pretty high scoring affair. So there are more All Blacks and Argentinians in this lot than Wallabies and Springboks. It's kind of just the way the games went. Please remember I do this kind of like a fantasy team. So I've got a couple of loose heads. And yeah, some of the positions aren't exact, but it's just like a fantasy team. If you play fantasy rugby, yeah, you'll be pretty familiar with it. Rugby Pass has been doing fantasy rugby, which is also a good source of stats, although they weren't available as I did this video. They're slacking off for some reason. They've always been available on a Monday before, but not this time. So all these come from ESPN, so there may be differences from what you've seen when you watch the broadcast, but at least they're consistent. All the players are the same across the board. Right, fantasy team. Team of the week, dream team, whatever you want to call it. Here we go. From the box, I got with Stephen Kitsoff. This guy was immense. I've been kind of wanting to see him start for a while. He generally comes on from the bench, and he is that super sub player. 6 runs, 7 meters, 3 passes. Kind of nothing hugely startling there. Made 11 from 11 tackles. Shows his work rate. He is a busy guy for a big guy. And the scrum just looked stronger when he was on. When the Beast came on, he gave away at least 1 penalty. I mean, the guy is getting on, so probably all the more reason for Kitsoff to get a few more starts and give the Beast a bit of kind of sheltered minutes, I guess you could say. Next, and a guy who was something of a beast himself this week, Tuinukuafe from the All Blacks. 3 runs for 15 meters is actually a pretty decent return for a prop. Didn't pass the ball once. That's very prop-like. Beat 1 defender, 1 clean break. That's not prop-like, especially the clean break. 7 out of 11 tackles is okay. And the scrum, man, he was just all over that Argentinian scrum. I mean, remember, this guy didn't even have a Super Rugby contract at the start of the year. So the work he's put in is pretty magnificent. Next, hooker, I've gone with Cody Taylor. Malcolm Marx was probably a bit quieter than we're used to seeing him, so I've gone with Taylor. He had a try assist, 7 runs for 41 meters, which means he probably doesn't belong in the front row if he's putting up those kind of numbers. Beat 1 defender, 2 clean breaks, 1 offload, and made 11 out of 11 tackles. When Dane Coles is finally back fit, he may have a lot of trouble dislodging this guy because he is, I think, out now at the moment, New Zealand's best number 2. Next, the guy who was supposed to be getting a bit of a break from the bench, Sam Whitelock, came on pretty early. 5 runs, 7 meters, 4 passes, and his work rate, as always, is just immense. 15 out of 16 tackles. I mean, he came on for Retallick really early on. You know, he was supposed to have, like I said, a bit of a rest, but not to be. You guess it's going to be interesting to see how they go once Retallick's out, but I mean, Whitelock and Barrett, it's still a pretty darn good locking combination. Next, Lavanini from the Pumas. He's a large man. He probably doesn't get the run meters he should, but he certainly put in a lot of runs. 16 runs. The guy wanted the ball. He only made 17 meters, so he wasn't going very far with it, but he was, yeah, he was putting in some ticker in this performance. 5 passes and 12 out of 13 tackles. I mean, the guy is always going to be known, I would think, for his discipline. But this season with the Jaguares and now recently with the Pumas, he's just been putting a good effort in that second row. So hopefully by the end of his career, we just know him as a great lock rather than a bit of a fiery temper kind of guy. But yeah, good effort from him. Next, from the All Blacks, I go with Frizzell. I'll admit, when the All Blacks first picked him in June, and I said this in the comments, I thought they were just trying to keep him out of the hands of some of the other nations who was eligible for, including Wales, who seemed like the most likely prospect. But he certainly showed me wrong with this performance. Man, he was a monster. He got a try, 15 runs for 63 meters, which is just crazy. 5 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks and offload, and made 18 out of 20 tackles. A better performance from a loose forward, you won't see many, because that was pretty astounding stuff from Frizzell. There's certainly a lot of depth at kind of number 6 in New Zealand at the minute. Next, and it's not his first time on here. Stia Khaleesi, he had 8 runs for 47 metres, which apart from when you read Frizzell's stats, is actually still really impressive for a loose forward. He beat 7 defenders. The next best in that game was Beale and Guinea, who had 4. And the next best Springbok was Colby with 3. So 7 defenders beaten in the context of that game, let alone, I mean, Frizzell had 5. So Khaleesi had 7, was really impressive. He had 2 clean breaks and offload, made 7 from 7 tackles. I take the point from some people who say that sometimes he makes a break and is unable to set up a play. I guess sometimes he needs those support runners, and sometimes he just needs to pick that right moment to pass. But I'd rather have this and then just kind of get him to pass it than have him good at passing and not able to do this stuff. So yeah, that's a little tweak to his game. If he could decision making a bit better on when to pass, but also his teammates need to be there as an option for him when he does bust through, because when he busts through, sometimes he leaves everybody for dead. Next, I've gone with Ardie Savea from the All Blacks. He had 13 runs for 43 metres, and like I said, apart from when you see Frizzell, it's impressive. 4 passes, a clean break, and 2 defenders beaten. Interestingly, that you wouldn't, like when you think Ardie Savea, you don't think kind of defensive powerhouse. He's more of a dynamic player. 21 out of 22 tackles. Highest of the round. The next best was 18, and that was Frizzell. So Ardie Savea was everywhere. Yeah, a big performance from him. There's a lot of pressure on him because he always seems to be the second choice guy, or maybe even third, for that number 7 jersey, mostly second choice. But yeah, he's putting his hand up in that performance for sure. Kieran Reid is really unlucky not to be here. That guy had a big game as well. He's I don't usually do them, but an honourable mention. Next, TJ Perenara from the Hurricanes from the All Blacks. 2 tries. As a helicopter flies over my house. 3 runs, 21 metres, 1 clean break, 8 out of 11 tackles. He was just sharp. Yeah. There's always that decision between, do you go with Aaron Smith? Damn, that thing's flying low. Aaron Smith or TJ Perenara? Either way, the All Blacks are going to be good. I mean, TJ's a pretty big guy for a number 9. And he seems to always put in a good shift when he is there. So he keeps Aaron, I guess, at the top of his game by always being kind of following at his heels to make sure that if he slips up, TJ's there to take that spot. Next, going with Sanchez from Argentina. I mean, this guy was unlucky the last time I did a Dream Team because Beauden Barrett scored 4 tries. Sanchez had a really good week that week, and he's followed it up this week and didn't quite have the same competition to compete with. He scored a try assist. He kicked at 80%, which is more than what he was doing at Super Rugby. Had 46 passes and 13 runs, which I like. I like that balance of keeping the defenders honest with that amount of running he's doing. He made 43 metres with those runs, so he was actually running effectively, picking the right times. 3 offloads, 3 clean breaks, and 5 defenders beaten. Those are good stats for anyone. 2 out of 3 tackles. Okay, he didn't have much work going down his channel. Another kind of masterclass from him, and like I said, no Barrett to compete with. Yeah, he had a really good shift against the world's best team. He still looked like a class player. That's kind of a credit to the guy. Next, first Wallaby, I got Matt Tamua. He had 1 try, and it was quick thinking. There wasn't much time for him to read that ball and just decide to go for it, kind of body on the line stuff. He kicked 2 conversions and 2 penalties, which in the context of that game was really important because the second half was very low scoring. He had 4 runs for 8 metres, which is nothing spectacular. He did beat a defender, had a clean break, which would have been the try. 4 passes and made 8 from 8 tackles, because when you saw Deolinde being picked from the box, someone's bringing a bin up my driveway. It's helicopters and bins today. 8 from 8 tackles. When they pick Deolinde, you know you're going to have some traffic coming at you. Good timing. He needed to be solid, and he was solid, so a good effort from Matt Tamua. And I've picked his other partner. I've picked Reece Hodge here. He had 5 runs, 19 metres, and 2 clean breaks. That's pretty good. 3 passes, 6 from 6 tackles. But I've mainly got him in here, and I don't usually do this. I usually pick overall stats, but he kicked a 50-plus metre penalty in that second half. And again, in the context of that game, Like, that stopped South Africa from being able to set for a drop goal or play for penalties. South Africa had to score a try, and that allowed the Wallabies to just kind of hold things out and put the pressure on defensively. So that kick in the context of that game, very, very important. Have I picked two Aussie guys here because I probably need to kind of give them a bit of credit for getting a win? Probably. I mean, ALB and Goodhue were magnificent for the All Blacks as well. Very hard done by not to be here. But I wanted to give the Wallabies guys some props. And like I say, that game was that tight that the kicks that they both made, helped secure the win. So I've put them in here for that. Next, outside backs, I've gone with Moyano from Argentina. He scored a try, which was magic. It's one of the best tries I've seen all year. He just bamboozled those All Black defenders, made them look silly. He had 10 runs for 106 metres, and those were massive metres in this week. 1 pass, 3 clean breaks, 7 defenders beaten, probably half of them in that try that he scored. 1 offload, made 4 from 7 tackles. Next, I've got his teammate, Boffelli, another man who scored a try. 15 runs for 79 metres. Again, he was busy. 4 passes, 2 clean breaks, another 7 defenders beaten, an offload, and 4 from 6 tackles. This guy is class. He's been one of my favourite players to watch all season throughout Super Rugby, and he's continuing that at international level. He was even one of the better players in June when Argentina were looking poor. So he's having a very good year. And I've gone with another Argentinian. I've gone with the whole back three. I've gone with Delgui. Probably the least impressive of the three, but still 9 runs, 47 metres, 2 passes, 4 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks. Defensively, the most impressive with 8 out of 10 tackles. Again, I could have gone with Ben Smith. He did have at least, I think, 4 errors on his record according to ESPN, so that kind of swayed me. And I do like the idea of having the 3 Argentinian guys. How many of us would have said at any point in kind of Argentinian rugby history that, man, their outside backs are really good if only they could get that scrum right? It's such a strange thing to be saying, but those 3 guys were magic, and they've got a whole lot of potential. Australia's going to need to watch out next week because Argentina were on fire. So that's the team. If I had to pick a captain for the team, I would probably have to go for Sanchez. He just controlled the show. He was really magic in this effort. Mo'unga was a bit underwhelming in his performance, but like I said in my review of the game, it's kind of like he was never going to live up to the expectations that people had set for him, so he just needs to get some experience and he'll get better. Yes, that's the team. You guys let me know your thoughts. Who was unlucky to miss out? As I said, I've kind of mentioned a few of them because, a lot of good performances, especially in that All Blacks Argentina game. A lot of the stats were just amazing, and they're kind of the backbone of how I make this up. But also, some of it is just kind of gut instinct and how the game went. But yes, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.